Ms. Megan Greene from Referendum Global Economics.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm going to first talk about why the fiscal compact is so incredibly misguided, and then I'm going to talk about why it's overwhelmingly in Ireland's best interest to accept it anyhow. Looking at the fiscal compact, there are a lot of myths surrounding the Eurozone crisis. The biggest one is that this is a fiscal crisis or a debt crisis. Above all else, this is a balance of payments crisis or a growth crisis. And the fiscal compact does absolutely nothing to address the growth question in the Eurozone, particularly in the weaker countries. The fiscal compact has been touted as the first steps towards a fiscal union. In and of itself, it's absolutely nothing of the sort. Essentially, the fiscal compact is Germany and the other core countries' way of insisting that all of the other countries in the Eurozone look more like Germany. And what that actually achieves is it institutionalizes this asymmetric adjustment in the Eurozone, whereby the core isn't adjusting at all, but the peripheral countries in the Eurozone are doing all of the adjustment. And all that does is ensure that the peripheral countries are going to go further into recession. And that certainly does not help with the growth strategy for the peripheral countries in particular. Secondly, the fiscal compact is already defunct. It's already been undermined by Spain in the first instance. Spain has already pushed back on the fiscal targets that it agreed with the European Commission and got away with it. Now that's partly because Spain has agreed that it will still hit its target for next year of a deficit of 3% of GDP. It's very unlikely Spain will hit its targets for this year or next year, actually. But so far, the European Commission hasn't really pushed back, and so it does seem like there's already slippage on these fiscal targets leading up to the fiscal compact. Furthermore, the Netherlands will have a very hard time meeting all of the requisites of the fiscal compact. And finally, if Hollande wins the French election, he's already said that he'd like to renegotiate the fiscal compact. So there are severe questions about the legitimacy of the fiscal compact. And let's not forget that the punishment for not actually reaching the targets set out in the fiscal compact is fines. And on the face of it, it's somewhat absurd to actually foist a bigger debt burden on a government that actually can't meet the targets. So the fiscal compact, in my view, is completely misguided, but like I said, I still think Ireland should support it. There are two main reasons for that, and you've got to look at the costs of Ireland not supporting the fiscal compact to understand it. If Ireland doesn't support the fiscal compact will still go ahead. But the implications for Ireland are big. First of all, Ireland will absolutely need a second bailout. If you look at the growth dynamics in Ireland, first looking at domestic demand, and I've included some charts on that in the PowerPoint presentations, domestic demand is still contracting. In fact, the contraction over the past 4 quarters only accelerated as last year went on. And that's likely to continue given that unemployment is stubbornly high and rising. So Ireland's entirely reliant on foreign demand for growth, and I've provided some of our Referendum Global Economics forecasts for GDP growth in Ireland's biggest export markets, and as you can see, they look dismal. So it's unlikely that Ireland will benefit from significant foreign demand. I've also included our growth forecasts for Ireland, which, as you'll note, are significantly lower than the government's. I've actually tried to recreate the government's forecasts using our models and couldn't actually do it. The second reason why Ireland must support the fiscal compact is that, the Eurozone crisis is back in full force. There was a slight lull after the ECB's 3-year long-term refinancing operations, but it's back. Bond yields for Spain and for Italy have risen again. I think that Greece will probably choose to exit the Eurozone as early as the end of next year. Portugal will probably be around 12 months behind that. Ireland will have a big choice about how it's going to return to sustainable growth. Given that Ireland's growth model is based on Ireland serving as a springboard for multinational companies looking for access to the wider EU market, I think Ireland needs to remain on good terms with its EU partners and protect its relationship with the EU, more importantly even than protecting its relationship with the Eurozone necessarily. So if Ireland were to actually vote this fiscal compact down, it would just be, putting those relationships with other EU countries in jeopardy. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Greene. Next speaker is Professor Brian Lucy from Trinity College.